How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to just be going through a simple forecast for the upcoming week on the three pairs that I mainly trade, AU, EU, and GU. So let's just have a look at AU on the 4 hour. We're going to be looking at just specific zones that we want to be trading off of and other points such as take profit targets and stuff like that. So let's just look at simple market structure for the time being. So we can see that so far on the daily time frame, AU is slowly turning bullish for the moment. We can see that there is some sort of bullish price action kicking in. We're making higher highs and higher lows on the 4 hour over here. So we can see that we are basically following the order flow and we're basically pushing to the upside. We don't see any movement to downside so far. We had one movement here, which is this point here, but essentially it is part of the order flow, which is basically this. So for AU this week, I'm basically gonna be looking at two specific zones, just one zone, sorry, which is this point here, mainly because this is the start of the move up that basically broke structure here. So we're gonna be looking for some buys here, right at this point over here. I'm gonna include this wick for just to be safe. So basically this is the zone we want to be looking at for AU during this period. Let's just take a look at what's happening here as well. So sorry if I sound a bit tired because I just got another shot of the vaccine, so it's kind of tiring me out, but let's just move on with this. So looking at the 1 hour, you can see that there was a sort of change of character in this area here, right? And basically what happened was this point was mitigated on the, if we look at the half an hour, just over here, we basically had a chalk here. So we had this high broken. So basically this high over here was broken. So we created a higher high here. And then this low was broken. So we created a lower low here. And basically, one of the things that me and Chris wanna sort of reiterate again is that a lot of people have this concept that chalk and basically supply and demand flip trades are different. Now, I just want to sort of reiterate on that point that they are by definition different, but by concept they're the exact same thing. Because chalk is change of character, supply and demand flip trades are also change of character trades because they're turning from supply to demand and demand to supply. So for anyone out there that is saying they are entirely different things, look at the concepts carefully and you realize that they are the exact same things. So over here you can see that we had a demand zone here. Essentially we failed. We broke it here and the cause of that break was this candle here. So we saw mitigation to the downside. So you can see exactly what's happening in this specific point here. But for AU at the moment, we're just going to be looking for some buys in this region here. And if we see any sort of chalk in this region during the London Open, then we would be looking to take some buys up short term. But if not, I'll be looking for price to enter this region, wait for a change of character or a supply and demand flip trade, and then we'll basically take a trade up. Alright, now for EU, we have basically what we're looking at is very similar to AU. We've been having a bit of a bullish order flow and structure over here. We've been making higher highs, sort of ranging in this region. But if we look on the 4 hour time frame, we've been basically creating higher highs and higher lows so far. So in this point here, we basically made a higher high. We also broke structure in this region. Now, there are 2 points for me on EU that I want to be looking at. One being this point here, mainly because this was the candle that caused the break of structure. So I'm going to be looking at this, and I'm also going to be looking at this point here, which is basically some sort of the origin of the move to the upside. So there are two zones here that I want to be looking at. And one thing you can also note is that if we just look at this whole move up, so this range here, right, you can see that we're basically, these two zones are in the basically discounted areas, or in the areas that demand is likely going to be mitigated and pushed up. So we want to be looking at these two regions over here. You know, some people might be marking stuff up like here. You probably might find something there. Might be a bit absurd, but some people might find stuff there. But we also want to just make sense of why these two zones are higher probability because of where they are situated. So for EU alone, going to be looking at these two zones over here. You can probably refine them on a lower time frame, but I'm going to be sticking with these two zones for the time being. Right now, so if we look at GU for the time being now, we can see that same thing. We've also got some really bullish price action kicking in. We've been basically bullish for a long time. And if we just have a quick look on the daily, you can see, if you are able to sort of zoom out and look at what's happening, basically what we've been doing is we had this recovery up. This is basically the pullback down and up. So essentially this is what we're doing, right, on the higher time frames. If we drop to the 4-hour time frame and have a look here, you can see that for me there are two zones that I want to be marking up. So I'm just going to drop to the 2-hour to get a better look at them. We've got, so just to make it clearer for you guys, we've got this point here, right, caused the break of structure, and we've also got this point here. So essentially we want to be looking at these two zones here. One here, so sorry about that. One of the zone being here, and the other zone being this whole point here. You can probably get a proper refinement for it if you just sort of drop time frames or move up time frames. So I'm going to be marking up this whole candle, take this candle, and essentially I'm going to be looking at these two zones on GU, mainly because these 2 points have very close resemblance of why they would be mitigated in a sense. Now, why am I marking up two different zones instead of just one? Mainly because it might mitigate this point here because this makes sense, right? But it also might mitigate this point because this is the origin and this is an origin for another move here, right? So we want to just mark both up. We want to mark all the possibilities up and be open to where it mitigates. And for anyone who tells you that there is one specific zone that is definitely going to get mitigated, I would say that's absolutely wrong, because you don't know exactly where the price is going to mitigate. But what you can do is mark up the zones that you think is going to mitigate and react accordingly to how price reacts to the zones you marked up. So guys, we've looked through AU, EU, and GU on where they're going to be mitigated and exactly what we want to look for. So that will be all for this week, and I will be following up with the forecasts and what happens in this upcoming week. So for any questions you guys have, drop them in the Discord chat and we'll be happy to answer them. Bye bye.